We sometimes think that innovation only happens inside semiconductor chips or software. But what about innovation in agriculture, such as vertical farming? Two social entrepreneurs from Ottawa are determined to improve food security, especially in indigenous communities in Canada's north. They're innovating, they're producing thousands of tons of fresh produce, and they're capturing the attention of people near and far. Get the full story on the Growcer in this episode of Techopia Live. Hello, I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Welcome to Techopia Live. This is a regular podcast from OBJ that features executives from next generation technology companies. We want to shine a spotlight on the up and comers. We also want to keep you updated on the big flagship companies, all with a goal of keeping the tech sector informed and connected. Listen, if you watch Techopia Live, you could get the impression that all tech innovation in Ottawa happens in software as a service, telecom, or semiconductor chips. Well, that's not the case. I'm sure you realize technology sector is much more diverse than that, but let's be honest. When you think of innovation, do you think of agriculture and farming? Well, today's two guests might change your minds on that. Back in 2015, these two co-founders recognized a major food security issue in Canada's north, particularly when it came to fresh produce. With no feasible food system solution, these co-founders decided to tackle the challenge themselves. That was the beginning of Growcer. Let's watch this video.
When we started to do the research, we realized that Growcer was not only the most space efficient, but was the most innovative in terms of the technology that they were using to produce local food.
There's that educational piece. Youth ambassadors are being trained. From there, you can teach the canning, the fishing. It just has such a big ripple effect.
There is a need in every community to have food, to have fresh vegetables. It's about promoting health.
We have a chance to go in there each and every day, monitor the produce. It's fantastic, it's fresh, it's produce the way it's supposed to be.
Isn't that impressive? And if you think that's impressive, wait till you meet the two impressive young leaders behind Growcer. Please welcome Corey Ellis, the founder and CEO. Welcome, Corey. And second, the co-founder, Alida Burke, the co-founder, as I mentioned, and CFO. Welcome, Alida.
Thanks, Michael.
How's everyone?
Doing
pretty
well.
good. Yeah, a little chilly today, but otherwise doing good.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. It's that time of year and a busy time of year. So thanks for making some time with us. So Alida, maybe I'm going to ask both of you to introduce yourself, and maybe Alida, you could go first. Just give us a brief professional history, so to speak.
For sure. Well, hello everyone. My name is Alida Burke, and yes, my side of the shop here at Growcer is everything finance and administrative. So my journey begins with Corey about 6-7 years ago, and studied business in particular and in accounting more specifically. Did my undergrad at Ottawa, went to Carleton and did my master's, and we've kind of built Growcer along the way.
That's awesome. And Corey, you were at Ottawa. Was looking through your LinkedIn, part of the Enactus thing, but tell us a little bit about your journey, Corey.
Yeah, exactly. So Alida and I met in a student organization that focuses on social enterprise. So how do you use kind of a capitalism, for-profit approach to apply to a social or environmental problem? And there was a student club on campus called Enactus that focused on that. So that's where we met. That brought us to Iqaluit in 2014 and 2015. And then it's from being in the north and then seeing the astronomical price of produce. I was like the aha moment of let's try to solve that. And to be honest with you, we jumped into this not realizing maybe it was going to pick up steam as soon as it did, and then it became a full-blown business before we knew it. So we went from full-time students to then juggling a full-time business while being full-time students for a number of years. And then now we've been in business now for going on 8 years, and it's been a really fun journey along the way.
I bet it's hard to believe it's been 8 years. I mean, the better part of a decade. Alida, if you bumped into someone, you know, the typical kind of elevator pitches, they say, how would you pitch Growcer?
Yeah, Growcer to us, I think, is all at its core enabling anyone, anywhere to grow food locally. So there's a lot of different facets in that. The core is, of course, growing food, but there's so much more that goes into it. You know, there's capacity and education that we do. There's the hardware, and then a variety of other kind of distribution and supports associated with getting then the food to bellies at the end. So at its core, that's what we do, and supporting our network of 70 plus farms across Canada.
And Corey, fully appreciating that Growcer is a private company and you're not going to get into revenues or that type of stuff, but give us some metrics on the company, whatever you can share in terms of employees or locations or funding or clients. Take it away.
Yeah, so we've got about 70 farms now deployed in Canada. We've sold about 85. Each one of our farms, you know, tends to be around $250,000 to $350,000. We've got a team of 30 people. The bulk of the team is based and works out of our headquarters here in Ottawa. But we have a team across the country, and yeah, our farms are coast to coast to coast. So over the last 8 years, our annual growth rate is something in the 80% range year over year. So we've been averaging pretty fast growth, roughly doubling the number of farms every year, and we're on track to double again for the year ahead. So really exciting. You know, the thing I'm most proud about the business in the last little while is that last year we grew 10 million servings of vegetables in the network. So really putting a meaningful dent in the problem that we meant to solve. It's taken us many years of building to get to a number like that. But certainly, yeah, 8 figures feels pretty good in terms of number of meals served across the country.
Yeah, that's a fantastic number, and we're going to get into the product itself and what makes it unique and growth. We're going to stay a little bit on your journey. So one of the things that strikes me about Growcer is that, as you indicated, it kind of was this explosive growth. Like you burst onto the scene, you were on Dragon's Den, so you suddenly became this going enterprise. What sort of funny stories do you have in terms of that entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, and we were reminiscing, and there's, I think, a lot to choose from. I think there's so many things you look back to and you think, oh, remember this? And you're like, wow, hard to believe that was, you know, 4, 5, 6 years ago. The one we get asked a lot about is our Dragon's Den experience. We were on Dragon's Den. It aired in early 2019, and we shot it in May of 2018. And they always want to have something visual. So how do you show your story and your business so that you can kind of see? It's hard to picture what we do sometimes. So we were like, okay, well, we can bring a shelf from our farm here in Ottawa at Baby Yards, and we can have it on set, and you can see the plants and get a good feel, which is what we ended up doing. But what you didn't realize, or what I didn't realize, is that you can't have any sort of water on set because of the millions, I'm sure, of dollars of equipment that they have there. And not only did we have to rent out a 26-foot box truck, the largest you can rent as legally, I think, get it all the way from Ottawa to Toronto, then douse a few stagehands along the way with some water, which they were not too happy about, to then the plants ending up not being able to, they all died right before our shoot because you couldn't have any water on set, and we had to bring it the night before. So ultimately it was for naught. However, they did their movie magic, and you can, if you look closely, you can see they're not doing too well, but ultimately they made it work, and we got a deal in the end. But it was a bit of an interesting and slightly stressful experience along the way.
The magic of Hollywood.
Exactly.
Revived your plants for you. And Corey, anything else to share about Dragon's Den, or any other kind of anecdote that would be interesting for other entrepreneurs watching this?
I mean, to pull on a string that Alida was just mentioning, I just distinctly remember us driving down Front Street in Toronto in this, what you could only picture as like a huge truck. We're like barely gotten our driver's license, let alone able to drive a semi down Front Street. And you're looking down at people's heads. We've got one of our technicians in the back. He's one of our R&D guys watering the plants by hand as we're going down the street to try to keep the plants alive. So it was fun. It was a harrowing experience, but I think it goes to show it looked polished from the outside, but if you look behind the scenes, the startup journey was a lot of fun in the early days. It was definitely not as straight path or not as straightforward as the plants. But yeah.
And I seem to remember you had massive interest from the dragons. When we've had the dragons speak on occasion over the years, and when I've talked to people who've been on the show, it's like, yeah, we did the deal, but it fell apart in due diligence. Are you able to say whether you actually closed the deal or a dragon were invested?
Yeah, we got 4 offers on the show out of 5 dragons, and we ended up taking a deal with Lane Merrifield and Arlene Dickinson on the show. And then when we walked off set, frankly, politely declined the offer. Alida and I had chatted ahead of the show. To be honest with you, we were kind of using it as an opportunity to get some free marketing. And in those days, our marketing budget was this big. It was a big fat zero. And so it was a way to get a lot of press without needing to make a large amount of investment ourselves. Yeah. And so, have a ton of respect for the dragons, but we went into the show even before we heard their offer, kind of having spoken about, we don't really want to bring in equity at this point. As you probably know, Michael, from having known us for close to a decade now, like we bootstrapped for 6 of our 8 years of history. So we were very intentional about kind of taking the long path of, building a business and raising money at the right time when we felt like, that capital could be deployed to grow the business. When we were on Dragon's Den, like Alida said, in 2018, we were not ready for prime time yet. We were just kind of figuring out our product market fit. We were just figuring out kind of how to get our product to be reliable in the way we wanted it. So we weren't ready for outside investment quite yet. So we stayed disciplined, and I'm glad we talked about it before, because what you don't realize is they're taping every second from like when you walk in the door to when you walk out through those famous doors on Dragons on the set. They've got a camera stuck in your face the entire time. So there is no deliberation period where you can actually have a heart to heart or a sort of discussion of saying, okay, what are we actually going to do? No, they've got a recording of every single second in between. So yeah, glad we had kind of sorted out our what we were willing to take and what we were in it for beforehand.
That's awesome. And Alida, you have closed a little bit of funding post when you were ready to get it. You have recently closed something, a little bit of external funding. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Really supporting, kind of taking the key areas that we've really learned and honed in over the last few years in terms of product and kind of the finance side of it, with our launch of Growcer Finance recently, to really kind of take what we've done and really grow from there. So really excited for the years to come. I think we've built something special, and we're looking forward to continuing to build that journey.
Good. And good idea to take the money when you need it and the time is right. Listen, we're going to put our conversation on pause for about 45 seconds. When we come back, we're going to get into the product. So I'm really interested in asking all those questions. But again, let's recognize the sponsor of this episode. Here is Perley Robertson, Hill and McDougall. Tech companies must move at the speed of light, and they need a law firm that moves just as fast. Perley Robertson, Hill and McDougall has developed long-standing expertise in helping tech companies address their legal matters. As Ottawa's largest premier full-service law firm, Perley Robertson, Hill and McDougall has provided a number of specialized legal services for the past 50 years. Perley Robertson, Hill and McDougall's in-house legal experts can help tech companies with financing strategies, venture capital, private placements and public offerings, mergers and acquisitions, intellectual property protections, shareholder agreements, and much more. To learn more about how Perley Robertson, Hill and McDougall can help your company, visit perlaw.ca. All right, we're back with Alida and Corey from Growcer. So an unsophisticated person like me could look at the Growcer and say, oh, they're doing hydroponics in a shipping container. But I suspect I'm wrong. I mean, I'm sort of right, but I suspect it's much more complicated than that. Alida, do you want to take the first stab at explaining to me, what the product is and maybe it's a little bit of its development story?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the video is a great way of showing it because, like you said, it's kind of hard to kind of contextualize without a visual. But you can imagine our main flagship product is a 40-foot shipping container size. And inside, you're creating the optimal environment for plants to grow. So you've got shelves that have small beds of water, and the plants are growing on rafts on these little shallow ponds. And then you have LED lighting and a great HVAC kind of system to support the plants to be able to grow 365 days of the year. So no matter if it's minus 50 outside or plus 40, the plants are happy and growing and really focused on growing quickly so that you're able to get, from seed to harvest for, let's say, lettuce, about 6 weeks or so. So those are kind of some of the key factors that help grow optimally with one of our units.
Okay. And Corey, so let me just come back to the concept of shipping containers. They're not actually shipping containers, right?
Not anymore. Our first 20 or so were shipping containers. So if you would have seen us in 2016, 2017, we were using them. And then we decided to move to a larger platform. So we now build in what we call structurally insulated panels. So we build from recycled materials, but the structure itself is brand new and proprietary. And essentially that gives us more flexibility on building the exact size we want, leaving more room. And they're just, easier to use and more user-friendly, more labor efficient.
Yeah, I noticed the size of them in the video and some other photos. I was like, that can't be a shipping container. It's too wide. And you even have some that are accessible, by the way, right?
Exactly. Yeah. In the last 6 months or so, we developed alongside some partners the world's first, to our knowledge, fully accessible vertical farm. And so for people with accessibility or mobility devices, this is a way for you to actually be able to operate a piece of machinery like this. So it was very exciting. We've now launched 2 of those projects. Both are in the GTA. And yeah, really neat to kind of see the unique ways our technology is being used nowadays. Definitely not the intent and what we had in mind and what we had envisioned when we started this business. But we're so happy we're here, and we're happy that people are getting creative on really compelling and impactful ways to use the technology we developed.
All right, Alida, let's come back to you. Can you paint the picture, Alida, of a typical client or use? I know that you started off thinking about Canada's North and food insecurity, but I'm curious about who your typical customer is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that COVID has actually shown in the last couple of years is how food supply chains can really be easily disrupted. And, even here in Ottawa, the last few years, food prices have risen really dramatically. So with that, our clientele has changed as well and has evolved. So, one of our key areas that is where we started and where we continue to support a lot of clientele is in our indigenous markets. So folks that are looking for projects to support their local community in southern and more northern parts of Canada. Another key vertical are education institutions and other kind of more social ventures where the focus is in learning how to grow and the different facets associated with growing food locally. So we have a client, Ontario School in Alberta, and so they run a CSA program for their local community, but then the students are running it and are learning along the way. And then the last is our more commercial retailer market. So you've got folks like the Co-op brand, further, I guess, out west, and they have one, let's say, in their grocery store parking lot. And so they run it under their own brand and then sell it on the store shelves. So, and that's more and more the types of clientele that we're supporting and looking to grow food locally.
Okay, good. And we'll start wrapping up. But Corey, I want to ask you about any sort of milestones or new products. For example, I understand that the Growcer has now offering some finance options for people that want to purchase units.
That's right. Yeah. So about a month ago, we launched more formally Growcer Finance, which we've been doing for a couple of years. But what the program is meant to do is to match people who want to get into farming but don't have the access to capital with folks who want to invest in this kind of food security infrastructure but don't want to become farmers. So we're actually kind of playing matchmaker. We've launched a infrastructure fund essentially that allows us to offer our technology for less upfront costs, and people pay a lease over time. So in essence, it's an infrastructure fund that has a triple net leases with a number of farmers. So we're deploying a few dozen farms under that model this year. And really what I'm excited about is that it makes our technology that much more accessible. We have hundreds of people across North America that see the need in their communities to grow more food locally. They're passionate about wanting to do it. They want to get their hands dirty. And they, the only real barrier for them to get started is capital. And so this is our opportunity to invest in this wave of entrepreneurs who want to be part of growing food more sustainably. They want to be part of the green revolution. And so what's exciting is we can pick the best of the best, look at their business models, find the ones that we feel compelled by, that there's a strong, market opportunity in a particular part of Canada, perhaps, and they're looking to produce food into that market. Then we can invest in their project, invest in their idea, and help them get off the ground. So it's honestly, if I think back, we're building the business that we wish we would have had in Iqaluit in 2015 and 2016. All the elements of what would have been roadblocks in our way at that time, we're addressing them one by one. It's the hardware, it's the services, it's the training, it's the support along the way, and then now finally the financing. So we're really trying to build a full ecosystem that comprehensively kind of gives someone everything they need, all the tools in the toolkit they need to get growing.
That's really neat. And entrepreneurs sometimes think they can solve all the problems at once, and you're kind of demonstrating, Alida and Corey, that hey, sometimes it takes many years, almost a decade, to get things sorted out and perfected. But that's great news. Listen, we're going to start wrapping up, but before we do, we want to make time for our episode, our question, our Building the Better Working World segment, brought to you by EY.
Growcer is enabling local food sovereignty
while creating good, well-paying jobs for people who grow our food all across the country.
All right, short and sweet, rolls off the tongue. Inside joke.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Corey and Alida, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Growcer is, just one of these inspirational stories of entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, I should say as well. I think the whole city, or the business community at least, is behind you guys as cheerleaders, and we wish you all the best in 2024.
Thanks, Michael. It takes a village, and really appreciate the support over the years.
All right. Thanks, Alida. Thanks, Corey.
Take care.
All right. Corey and Alida from Growcer. What an inspirational story right here in Ottawa. Before we wrap up, let's take a look at some of the other great companies that champion our Techopia project. Techopia is brought to you by many great sponsors, such as EY, building a better working world. Number Crunch, offering virtual CFO services for SaaS companies. Pearlie Robertson Hill and McDougall, a leader in business and technology sector law. TD Bank, specialized programs for technology companies. The University of Ottawa Faculty of Engineering, creating the next generation of technical talent. Techopia is not only a podcast, we post new articles daily at obj.ca/Techopia. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe and click the bell icon. All right, exciting to talk to the Growcer, the co-founders of the Growcer today. I'm so happy we did that, and we'll continue watching their stories. A couple things before we wrap up, both Techopia related. One, still great idea to check out our Techopia EY Insights magazine that was produced a little earlier this year. We're working on the 2024 edition already. You can check that out at techopiaeyinsights.ca. Lots of great content on the history of technology products, what some of the key executives from 3 generations think about where Ottawa's tech sector is going, some top 10 companies, all great stuff. Also, I wanted to point out that OBJ's launched a new membership program, or an evolution of its membership program. It's called OBJ Insider. What just changed is something called OBJ Insider for Groups. So we offer exclusive news on the website, as well as mailing of our key publications. And now groups of people can enter in subscription and earn up to 20% off, all on a low monthly cost. I want to thank you for watching and or listening. We hope Techopia is keeping you informed and connected. Let's keep building Ottawa's technology utopia. That's Techopia. See you soon. Bye-bye.